I discovered my girlfriend of 8 years was cheating on her hiking trips. Here's what happened next. During Memorial Day weekend, I found out that my girlfriend was cheating on me. I have a lot to say, so this will be lengthy. Sorry about that. I want to share what happened that night, the days that followed, and what life looks like now. Background information. I have been with my girlfriend for almost 8 years, and it seems we are heading towards a breakup. We met at a college party, and things took off from there. Our relationship wasn't very exciting or passionate, but we cared for each other. I acknowledge that I wasn't the best partner. I had a tough time with alcohol, and we both used to smoke a lot of marijuana during college in our early 20s. I faced significant challenges with depression and anxiety. I managed to keep a job and pay my bills, even with those problems. We seldom argued. I have made significant progress in my life to move past these issues. I am fully sober and have put in a lot of effort to be the best future husband and father for our family. We created a life together over the years. We graduated college, moved to the city, and started our jobs. We have 2 dogs and no kids, living in a nice house in a good suburb that we share rent for. Our lives are connected. She is family to me, and I am family to her. We have been living together for years and splitting costs. I have a ring, but we aren't engaged yet. I didn't propose because I noticed issues in our relationship that I wanted to address first before moving forward. I attempted to discuss these issues, but I never received any real conversation or response. D-Day began a couple weeks before the actual event for me. One day before work, I asked my girlfriend, Jay, if she could clean her dishes in the sink and take care of her pile of laundry in the bathroom. No pressure or anything, just would really appreciate it. Jay got really angry with me. Do you realize how long you were a mess and I dealt with it? I was in pain, but I had to go to work. I told them we would talk later and walked out the door. I took some time to think during the day and got home a bit early from work. I sat down and shared the following points. Once upon a time, I had an experience that changed my perspective. It started on an ordinary day when I decided to take a different route home. As I walked, I noticed something unusual. A small dog was wandering alone, looking lost and scared. I approached it slowly, trying the spirits. Stop bringing up my past. I realize I have flaws, but I've put in a lot of effort to improve myself. I can't be in a relationship where my partner uses my worst moments against me to win a fight. 2. Jay works nights, and I've had a hard time with that before. We rarely meet because our schedules are totally different. She used to be willing to switch to the day shift, but now she's set in her decision. She has been sleeping a lot on her days off lately. I get that working night shifts is tough on sleep, but it was becoming a problem when she was only awake for 4 to 6 hours on her days off. During the few hours she was awake, she lay on the couch and watched TV. Having a relationship was tough. She wasn't keeping up with her share of house duties, leaving dishes in the sink and clothes scattered everywhere. Intimacy. Our intimate life has always been lacking. I've been clear about wanting to make things better, focused on self-improvement to be a good partner, and have tried to talk about her wants and needs too. No progress was ever made. I asked her what she thought and felt about each topic. I really wanted to have a conversation, but she wasn't responding at all. In the end, she mentioned that she needed some time to consider what I had said. Since the conversation, I had barely seen her at all. She was away for nearly a week on a hiking trip with some coworkers that had been arranged for a long time. After that, work kept us from seeing each other for another week. On Friday night, Jay asked if I wanted to go to a birthday dinner for a family friend the next day. I had plans that meant I needed to get up early on Sunday, so I said probably not, since I knew she would want to stay and hang out late with him. She promised she wouldn't since she had work on Sunday. I was skeptical, but I went along with it because I wanted to make her happy. As dinner wraps up, I head to the restroom. When I return, the usual thing occurs. "Are you fine with me going out?" She asked in front of everyone if I would be out much later. I replied, "Sure, you can do what you want." A few minutes later, I stepped off to the side. I told her I was upset that she broke her promise, but she didn't seem to care. She said she wouldn't be out too late, and I trusted her since the group mostly consisted of people in their mid-30s with young kids. Someone at the birthday dinner told me they would take her home. I drove home by myself, feeling the anger rise. I wrote a long message about feeling hurt that she didn't come home with me as promised, but I ended up deleting it before hitting send. I didn't want to ruin her night, so I decided we would talk in the morning. I head to bed. At 2 a.m., I get up to use the bathroom. She is not here. I look at my phone, and she hasn't messaged me at all. I check the location we share, but it's not loading. I'm starting to feel worried about her safety. I call her, and she answers, "Hello? Hey, where are you?" I chose to sleep over at a family friend's house. This didn't raise any concerns since they were a married couple with young kids. We have known them for years, and it was common for her to stay the night after going out with them. At this point, I feel my anger rising again. She lied to me about coming home early and didn't even bother to text me when her plans changed. I told Jay to take an Uber and come home. We need to talk. She showed her annoyance, but I didn't mind. She said she would get an Uber. It had been almost 30 minutes, and I still hadn't heard from her. I look at her location once more to see if she's coming. This time, it doesn't go low like before. She wasn't coming back. Instead, she was at a house I didn't know. I called her back and said, "Hey, I thought you were ordering an Uber and coming home. Where are you? Your location is pointing to a house I don't recognize." She remains firm in her account. She is with family friends. She doesn't understand why her location is pointing to the other house, since she is clearly at a family friend's place. I'm feeling a bit uneasy right now, but I haven't made any conclusions yet. It could have been a mistake. It looked like it was quite far from where she said it was for a glitch, and it hadn't changed position in some time. But I guess anything can happen. I'm asking her why she continues to lie to me. She lied about not going out, lied about how long she'd be gone, and lied about calling an Uber half an hour ago. She tells me the Uber will arrive in 4 minutes and that she'll call when it gets there, so we don't have to argue in front of family friends. I keep an eye on her location, waiting for it to update and show her moving. It moves just like she was picked up in an Uber from that house. She is on her way. I head downstairs and wait for her to show up. When she finishes, I ask her what she did tonight. I went to the bar and then visited some family friends. I asked her what she was doing at our family friend's place. Just having a conversation. I stay there sometimes. What's the issue? I asked what they were talking about until 2:30 in the morning. It didn't add up. They're a married couple in their mid-30s with young kids and full-time jobs. Staying up this late just to chat? While we were discussing you, what about me? What about my concerns regarding your behavior tonight? I was definitely sure, but my actions were not at all crazy. I didn't raise my voice or make any accusations. I asked her to come home, and I believed I had a good reason for it. She goes on to mention that they discussed the conversation from 2 weeks prior. I confronted her and overwhelmed her without any justification. I couldn't believe it. I believed I managed that conversation a few weeks back in a mature way. I felt good about taking the time to organize my thoughts so I could express them clearly when I got home. At this point, I was really doubting myself. Did I jump on her for no reason? Did I come off as aggressive in my approach? I thought it seemed one-sided since she wouldn't talk about anything. I asked her why she could discuss our relationship with others, but not with me. She said she was done talking and was going to bed, so it would never be clear. I pleaded with her for something, anything at all. I didn't mind if she yelled at me in response. I just needed something. While she walks up the stairs, I ask her to clarify why she was at that house. The tale remained unchanged. She was unaware that she was at a family friend's house. I told her I want to trust her, but I saw it myself. It simply didn't add up. I would have accepted any explanation that made sense of her being at that house. I was at a family friend's place, and that was it. If you don't believe me, we have much bigger issues to deal with. That was it. I trusted her, so I accepted it and went to join her in bed. A small voice in my mind knew what I saw, but she wouldn't lie or cheat. Just as I'm drifting off, I sit up and say, "Jay, I have an idea." Half asleep, he replies, "What?" "Share your Uber receipts. If you can show that, I'll believe you. Any doubts I have will disappear, and we can just move forward." Now she appears to be fully asleep, probably pretending when I think about it. I take her phone from under her pillow and unlock it. There's a text thread on the screen with a guy I'll refer to as Jake. Only 2 messages were there. First, earlier in the evening, it's Jay. It's the message you send after someone adds their number to your phone and you text them to share your number back. Then one day she forgot to send a message saying, "Hey, sorry about that." I got home safely. At this point, I still didn't think about cheating. I thought it was likely someone who was at the dinner and spent the night at family friend's place. Then I noticed the Uber receipt. It picked her up from the house where she was located. "Jay, wake up. You were in that house. What's happening? What occurred?" It is exactly as it appears. I asked her how she could do this to me. Why did she do this to me? Nothing happened. No response that shows any thought at all. Even though I asked her repeatedly about what happened that night, she still didn't tell me anything. It's done. You ended an 8-year relationship. We thought we would always be together. You were meant to be the mother of my kids. It was only after she said those words that she finally showed any remorse. The limited information I got from her was, this was the initial experience. I stopped her before anything went down. I have my doubts about both sides. It doesn't really matter to me. About a month before, she mentioned that she had HPV. She told me that monogamous people can catch it. I did some research and it looked possible, so I didn't think much of it. I'm curious now. The next few hours were a cycle of different ways to say I'm sorry and how can I fix this. It was 6 a.m. and I still had those plans that made me come home early the night before. A 7 a.m. tea time. I decided to go. I considered it a blessing, but I had already made a full day of plans with friends. First, I played golf. Then I spent some time at the shooting range with a friend who was going to teach me how it works. These are good friends, and I shared everything with them. They let me talk for hours and stayed as long as I needed. After Jay left for work, I figured it was time to head back home. I had been awake since 2 a.m. and I was really tired. I usually stay awake until midnight. I've been awake for around 22 hours, and it's been the worst day ever. The consequences that followed. To be honest, nothing significant occurred afterward. I am in pain. It feels like a persistent, dull pain. It wasn't the crushing pain of losing a family member. No, it's just a persistent, heavy pain. I contacted a few more friends who have been very supportive. I feel really lucky to have the support I have. I want to talk to my parents, but I haven't had the courage to call them yet. I can't say why, but I feel kind of embarrassed. I realize that once I share this, my relationship with Jay will be completely finished. They won't view her the same way, and she will sense it too. I can't handle that tension forever. I'm almost certain this relationship is done, but I can't say for sure. She was part of my life for 8 years. It represents a major shift in my current life and the future I envisioned. Work has been tough. This week hasn't been very productive for me. I've been keeping myself busy by chatting with my coworkers. Today, I found myself alone in the office. It looks like everyone else was working from home. It was a rough day. I keep going over what happened this weekend, and it's making me anxious. Up until now, I was strangely fine. This is the first time I've been alone since it happened, and all the emotions are surfacing. Moving ahead, I don't know what the future will bring. I have some plans for the near future. Once, I found myself in a strange situation. It all started when I received a mysterious package at my door. I had no idea who sent it or what was inside. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to open it. Inside, I found an old journal, test for STDs. 2. Counseling. 3. I need to talk to my parents and probably go home. I need to talk to Jay. I said it was over that night, but I think it needs to be made official. I haven't seen Jay since that night. She has been home after work on Sunday and Monday night. I don't believe she has gone outside. I've been trying to stay away as much as I can, and when I'm home, she stays in the guest bedroom. I haven't felt strong enough or motivated to reach out to her. I'm really worried about my living situation and the dogs. One dog is definitely mine, and the other is hers, but I can't shake the feeling that she might act unpredictably. I'm not sure what she can do now. We're stuck with this lease until February. I went over the lease again, and it looks like we're in a tough spot. She has family and friends in town, but I don't have anywhere to go. If she stopped paying her half of the rent, it wouldn't destroy me, but it would definitely hurt financially. It looks like the best option is to live as roommates, and keep our distance for the next 8 months. A rather grim best-case situation. When we separate, we will have to figure out how to split everything up. We have a lot of nice furniture together. The furniture probably won't fit in the apartments we might have to move back into after this. Everything feels really confusing right now. In conclusion, thanks for sticking around. Writing this felt really freeing. I'm looking for advice on what to do next. I never expected anything like this to happen in my life. Edit. Appreciate everyone who read and commented. Thanks to those who sent DMs. I might not have replied, but I did see your message. While friends and family are important, getting feedback and advice from those who are less involved can also be beneficial. Many of these replies have shown me some difficult realities about my relationship. After reading the comments and discussing with people in real life, I'm ready to go from 99.9% to 100%. It's done, and it was likely done longer ago than I want to acknowledge. I wanted to address the common comments and questions I'm receiving. Did she reach out to you? No. She texted me a few times during the week to say she fed the dogs before I got home, so I wouldn't accidentally double feed them. She told me yesterday that she would be staying somewhere else at least until today. No contact has occurred besides that. This might not be the first time she has cheated on you, but who knows? It doesn't make a difference for me. I don't want to know any more about the details or the people involved. That would only add more clutter to my thoughts. This isn't worth my time or thoughts. You're really naive. That's true. It's clear to me now. I want to avoid becoming a cynic, but I've learned the importance of standing up for my boundaries and recognizing red flags when they're ignored. I want to get her out of the house. That's the plan, and I'm working on it. Since I'm on the lease, I'm not sure what I can do if she decides not to leave. I realize that the utilities are in her name, so I would need her help if I wanted to stay here instead of her. It will be tough, but I believe a solution will come together. I have a solid support system and enough savings so I won't end up on the street. Document your talks and set up cameras. I can't accept that she would act as maliciously as these comments suggest. I get that it's important to protect myself. Forget your parents. I'm definitely going to do it, and it will be soon. I'm not concerned about how they'll respond. I just needed some time to think things over. Did I make a mistake by telling my wife to visit her son before he passes away? My wife, Sarah, 39, has a son named Vicky, who is 20 years old from her previous marriage. My wife and I had a complicated start. Her divorce from her ex was messy, causing a lot of turmoil in her life, especially for Vicky, who was just 8 years old at the time. For a few years, my wife did everything she could to help him, but it seemed like the more she tried, the more distant he became. Things escalated when he was 12. She found him trying to smoke, and in the struggle to stop him, he nearly broke her jaw. After that, she gave up on pushing for custody and allowed him to stay with his dad. At 14, he got a message from her saying his brother was born. She told him that even if he didn't want to be around her, it didn't mean he couldn't love his brother. He replied with, "Go yourself." 3 years later, when our daughter was born, she attempted the same thing but received no response this time. 2 days ago, she received a call from her ex. He was crying and said that Vicky is dying. He has cancer, and it was discovered very late. Doctors say he might have only a month left. He's been asking to see her. I've asked my wife to spend the month with him. She can work online for a month, take a leave, or just quit if they don't get it. She has refused, using excuses like work, taking care of the kids, and even suggesting it might just be a trick to hurt me more. She keeps crying, saying she thought she had more time. She's ignoring our kids and just looking at old photo albums of her and Vicky. This morning, I found her having a breakdown in her car before work. I pleaded with her to think it over, and she called me an a-hole for trying to pressure her into going. I understand he's not my son, and I have no claim to him, but not going is really hurting Sarah. So Ada, edit. For those who are confused, my wife tried to reach out more than just when our kids were born to see if he was ready to meet her. Our son only responded when he was born. She made an effort until his graduation. Even his father encouraged him to invite her. She gave him money, gifts, and everything for his birthdays. When he was 12, he hit her with a hockey stick and then kicked her when she fell. She forgave him for that, understanding what he was going through as her child. However, she chose to stop seeing him because she didn't want to contribute to his violence. She wondered what would happen if he hit another kid, and to everyone suggesting therapy, she took him to therapy and tried hard, but he didn't respond at all. Important feedback. It seems like she might have cheated on her husband with you, and that's probably why the son wants nothing to do with her. That makes sense, especially for a kid around 14 or 15. You want to help her because she will definitely regret not visiting him. It's unlikely that the son will allow her to stay for a month, but she should definitely go and say goodbye. He has every reason to be angry with her. She needs to make a decision and leave, or she will regret it after he is gone. Thanks, OP. Her son is the one asking, and he hasn't done so in a long time. I get that she's scared, but this is her final opportunity. Update 1. I have shown evidence that this is my account since it got banned, likely because I created it from a work computer I access remotely. My wife's son, Vicky, passed away a week ago. I'm posting because I need to express my feelings, and people here have been willing to listen before. After my wife came home the day I posted, we had another big argument about it. I honestly felt like I wasn't getting through to her. I attempted to apply some suggestions from the comments, and I was taken aback by her stubbornness. It ended with her yelling at me that her son isn't sick, isn't dying, and is perfectly fine. I'm not sure if she was in denial or thought it was a trick, but her scream really frightened the kids, so I decided to just leave it alone. A few days later, my wife received a call from a young woman who said she was her son's wife and was asking her to come over. That led her to make that decision, and her coworkers were really supportive. They allowed her to take time off until the end of this month. My relatives came over to help with the kids since she said she needed to handle this alone. She flew out to visit her son's family, checked into a hotel, and went to see him. She hasn't shared all the details yet since she just got home 2 days ago, but according to her ex, their son began acting strange around the time he graduated high school. At the time, they didn't think much of it since he seemed to be acting more mature. He got married about half a year ago and then passed away. There were no objections. She mentioned that her ex was blaming himself for not noticing the changes in him due to his illness. She said Medhey got married because his wife is the only child in a family that owns a lot of land. What has caused her to cry repeatedly is that no one informed her about her son's wedding. She keeps saying that if she had known he was sick, she could have saved him, that she should have been there. She has a point in blaming her ex. Her relatives don't communicate with her. She avoids Facebook, and she deserved to be informed. My wife has only had good things to say about her daughter-in-law. She is studying engineering at the University of Alberta and is currently pregnant, which is giving my wife some hope. She mentioned that a part of her son remains, and I really can't imagine how she would have coped if that weren't the case. I understand it's tough for my wife's daughter-in-law, but I'm happy they can support one another. My wife hasn't told me much about her son. She mentioned that he was sad, constantly apologizing for his behavior and forgetting things. The way he acted made her feel like her son was already gone before she arrived. She mentioned that he died in her arms while she was praying, so I really hope that means they were able to reconnect. I don't think she will share this with me, but that's why I'm frustrated. I've always wanted my wife to have everything she desires. Deep down, I know she longs for her son, who meant the world to her, and now that's something she can't have. It's not the same as losing an estranged parent or sibling. She created him, he was her son, and I see her crying, wishing it had been her instead. It honestly makes me angry. I can only support her, but it feels wrong. Her son shouldn't have died so young and in such a harsh way. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out. I may return here if I need to vent. Important observation.